the biggest financial crash ever. Before you scroll away, listen to this for just a few seconds. Imagine waking up one day and realizing the years are gone. Your energy is lower, responsibilities are heavier, and the money you thought would somehow work out never did. Not because you were lazy or careless, but because life kept happening and you kept postponing your future. That quiet fear you feel sometimes about money, about aging, about being dependent one day, this video is for that fear. I want to talk to you calmly, honestly, like one human being to another. No pressure, no shouting, no promises of fast money. Just the truth most people avoid because it feels uncomfortable. The biggest financial crash doesn't always happen on the news. It doesn't come with flashing red charts or dramatic headlines. Most of the time, it happens slowly, quietly, inside ordinary lives. It happens when years pass and nothing changes. When income rises a little, but expenses rise faster. When salaries come in, bills go out, and what's left feels too small to matter. So we tell ourselves, I'll start next year, or when things settle down, or when I earn more. And somehow, that year never comes. Maybe you're working hard right now. Long hours, mental stress. You might be supporting parents, helping siblings, paying rent, school fees, medical bills. At the end of the month, you're tired, not just physically, but emotionally. And when someone talks about investing, it almost feels insulting. Like, do you think I don't know I should save? Do you think I enjoy living like this? That frustration is real, and it deserves respect. But here's the uncomfortable part we rarely say out loud. Hard work alone does not protect you from financial pain. Responsibility alone does not secure your future. Love for your family alone does not pay for old age. Money left idle slowly loses power. Time keeps moving whether we prepare or not. And every year we delay. The price of starting becomes higher not just financially, but emotionally. Think about an ordinary person, not rich, not special. Someone who starts working in their early 20s. At first, the salary is small, so investing feels impossible. Then responsibilities increase, so investing feels irresponsible. Then kids, health issues, rising prices, so investing feels risky. And suddenly they're in their 40s or 50s, still saying, if only I had started earlier. Not because they wanted luxury, but because they wanted dignity. Freedom, peace of mind, the ability to say no, the ability to rest. This is where investing is misunderstood. Investing is not about being clever. It's not about timing the market or chasing trends. It's not about impressing anyone. Real investing is quiet, boring, repetitive. It's an act of self-respect. It's saying, my future self matters, even if today is hard. It's choosing to plant a seed, knowing you may not see the tree for years, but trusting that one day you'll be grateful you did. Many people think they're waiting for the right moment. But the truth is, there is no perfect moment. There is only now, imperfect and messy. Starting small feels pointless, but not starting at all is what truly costs you. A small, consistent habit done with patience beats big intentions delayed by fear. Even a tiny amount invested regularly does something powerful. It changes how you see yourself. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start feeling like a participant in your own life. There is also a deep emotional weight in not investing that people rarely talk about. It shows up as anxiety late at night, as irritation over small expenses, as guilt when you can't provide something you want to give your family, as fear when you think about getting older. These feelings don't mean you're weak. They mean you care. And caring is exactly why this matters. Investing is not about predicting crashes or chasing booms. It's about accepting reality. Prices will rise. Salaries may not keep up. Health will not always cooperate. Energy will decline. But discipline, started early, and practiced quietly, compounds not just money, but confidence. It gives you options, and options reduce fear. Right now, you might feel behind, like you missed your chance, like everyone else knows something you don't. That feeling is heavy, but it's also a lie that keeps people stuck. The market doesn't care about your age or your past. It only responds to consistency over time. The moment you start taking small, thoughtful steps, you begin rewriting your story. This first part is not about teaching you how to invest yet. It's about helping you see why delaying has a cost that's bigger than money. If this made you feel slightly uncomfortable, that's not an attack, it's awareness. And awareness is the beginning of change. When you're ready, we'll continue this journey step by step, calmly, patiently, together. Let's go a little deeper now, because understanding this emotionally is more important than understanding charts or numbers. Most people don't fail with money because they lack intelligence. They fail because life slowly exhausts them. Every month feels like survival mode. You tell yourself, just through this year. Then another year comes. Then another. And without realizing it, you start living only for today, not because you don't care about the future, but because today feels too heavy. There's a quiet sadness in that, a feeling of being trapped between responsibility and fear. You work not to build, but to maintain. You save when you can, but emergencies wipe it out. And after a while, your mind protects itself by avoiding long-term thinking altogether. You stop looking ahead because it hurts to imagine a future you feel unprepared for. This is why investing is deeply emotional. It forces you to face the future honestly. It asks uncomfortable questions. What happens if I can't work forever? What happens if prices keep rising? What happens if my children grow up and I'm still struggling? What happens if I become dependent on others? These questions don't have dramatic answers, but they demand quiet responsibility. Many people think investing is risky because they imagine losing money. But there is another risk we rarely talk about, the risk of doing nothing. The risk of letting time pass without putting it to work for you. The risk of waking up one day with regret instead of relief. That risk doesn't show up on a screen, but it shapes lives. Think about how money behaves. When you earn it, it comes in exchange for your time and energy. That means your life. If you spend all of it immediately, you are constantly trading your future time for present survival. Investing changes that relationship. Even a small investment is a way of telling your money, go work for me while I rest. It's not magic, it's patience. And patience is hard when you're tired, when bills are due, when family depends on you, when you feel pressure from all sides. That's why investing is not about amounts. It's about identity. When you decide to invest regularly, even with a small amount, you're saying, I am someone who plans. I am someone who thinks ahead. I am someone who values my future. This shift is powerful. It changes how you spend, how you save, how you react to stress. You stop seeing money as something that disappears and start seeing it as something that can grow. Slowly, quietly, without drama. Let me tell you something honest. The people who win with investing are not the ones who make perfect decisions. They are the ones who keep going during boring periods. They invest when nothing exciting is happening. They continue when returns are slow. They don't panic when the world feels uncertain. They trust the process more than their emotions. That's difficult, especially if you've never seen money grow for you before. At first, it feels pointless. You look at the small balance and think, this won't change anything. But what you're really building in the beginning is not wealth, it's discipline. And discipline is what allows wealth to happen later. There's also something deeply respectful about investing. It's an act of self-care that doesn't feel like self-care. It's quiet, private. Nobody applauds you for it. There's no instant reward. But one day, it shows up as peace, as flexibility, as the ability to handle life's surprises without panic. Imagine being older and knowing that even if something goes wrong, you're not starting from zero. Imagine having choices. The choice to slow down. The choice to help someone without hurting yourself. The choice to say no to work that drains you. That future is built not by luck, but by consistency. You don't need to know everything to begin. You don't need to predict markets. You don't need large amounts. You need a mindset that respects time. You need the humility to start small. And you need the courage to stay consistent when progress feels invisible. If this part made you reflect on your habits, your fears, your delays, that's a good sign. Change doesn't begin with confidence. It begins with honesty. In the next part, we'll talk about how small, realistic steps taken calmly and consistently can completely change the direction of an ordinary life. Now let's talk about the part that feels the hardest, actually starting and continuing without losing yourself to fear or impatience. This is where most people give up, not because they can't invest, but because they expect investing to feel exciting. Real investing rarely does. It feels slow. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening at all, and that silence can be uncomfortable. When you first begin, you might check your investment often. You might hope for quick progress, a sign that you made the right decision. But growth doesn't announce itself early. It whispers. And if you're not prepared for that, doubt creeps in. You start questioning yourself. You compare your progress to others. You wonder if you're wasting money you might need. This is where patience becomes more than a concept. It becomes a skill, a discipline. And discipline is not about being strict with yourself. It's about being kind to your future. Every time you invest regularly, you are choosing long-term stability over short-term comfort. That choice builds inner strength, not just financial progress. Life will not pause for your investing journey. Expenses will rise. Emergencies will happen. Some months will feel tighter than others. This doesn't mean you failed. It means you're human. The goal is not perfection. The goal is consistency over years, not weeks. There's also an emotional shift that happens when you stay invested through difficult times. You stop reacting to every financial worry with panic. You stop feeling completely helpless. Even if the amount is small, knowing that something is growing quietly in the background gives you a sense of control. That sense of control reduces stress in ways people don't expect. Think about how often money stress affects relationships, arguments, silent tension, guilt, shame. Investing won't fix everything overnight, but it slowly changes the emotional environment of your life. You feel less trapped, less desperate, more grounded. That calm affects how you speak, how you decide, how you plan. Another truth people don't like to hear is this: waiting until you feel ready is often just fear in disguise. Ready doesn't come first. Action comes first. Confidence follows later. The people who seem calm about money didn't start calm. They became calm through repetition. You don't need to understand everything at once. You can learn while moving forward. Start with what you can manage. Automate consistency if possible. Remove emotion from the process. Investing works best when it becomes boring. Boring is good. Boring means stable. And when markets fall, when fear spreads, when others panic, this is where mindset matters. Drops are not punishments. They are part of the journey. Wealth is not built by avoiding downturns, but by surviving them. Staying invested during uncomfortable periods is what separates regret from relief later. Picture yourself years from now, looking back at today, not remembering every struggle, but remembering the moment you decided to stop postponing your future. The moment you chose responsibility over avoidance. The moment you treated your time as valuable. That version of you won't care that you started small. They'll care that you started at all. This journey doesn't require perfection. It requires honesty, patience, and respect for time. If you've stayed with me this far, means you're already thinking differently. And that's how real change begins quietly. When you're ready, we'll close this with a final message. Not about money, but about hope, responsibility, and the power of one small step taken today. Before we end, I want you to take a slow breath and really sit with this moment. Not as a viewer, as a person thinking about their own life. Your past choices, your delays, your worries, your responsibilities. There is no judgment here, only truth. You did not end up here because you failed. You ended up here because life is demanding, because you carried responsibilities before you were ready, because you chose family over comfort, because you survived. And survival itself takes strength. But survival alone is not the goal. Living with dignity, peace, and choice is. The future doesn't need you to be perfect. It needs you to be present. One honest step taken today matters more than 100 intentions postponed for years. You don't need to fix everything at once. You don't need to suddenly become disciplined or fearless. You just need to stop waiting for a version of life that may never arrive. Money is emotional because it's connected to time, and time is connected to life. Every small amount you invest is not just money, it's a message. A message that says, I respect my future. A message that says, I believe I deserve stability. A message that says, I won't abandon myself just because things are hard. There will be days you doubt yourself. Days you feel behind. Days you wonder if it's worth it. That's normal. What matters is not how you feel, but what you continue to do quietly, consistently, without needing applause. One day, the fear that keeps you awake at night will soften, not because life becomes easy, but because you prepared. One day you'll realize that you're no longer panicking at every expense. One day, you'll feel a calm confidence that didn't come from luck, but from discipline, from patience, from respect for time. And maybe the most powerful part is this: by taking responsibility for your financial future, you change how the people around you feel too. Your family feels safer. Your decisions feel lighter. Your presence feels calmer. That is real wealth. You are not late. You are not incapable. You are simply at the beginning of a more honest chapter. A chapter where you stop hoping things will work out on their own and start gently guiding them in the right direction. Start small. Stay consistent. Be patient with yourself. Time is still on your side if you choose to work with it. This is not about becoming rich. It's about becoming secure, becoming prepared, becoming someone who can look at the future without fear. Your first smart investing step doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be real.